Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinski's Tutorials. So today I'm going to take a look at J6 Synth One by AudioKit. This is totally free and it's really good. And I think it's going to appeal to people who like and understand synths, but it's also going to appeal to people who don't know anything about synths. It's a great starter synth. So this video will be a little bit different from my normal ones because I'll explain things a lot more clearly than I normally would. So I hope that even total beginners can understand this. So we're going to start with the init patch, right? So we load presets by tapping here, and then we have various different banks that we can go through by a lot of different sound designers. But I'm just going to go to this basic init, i.e. initial preset, and start from scratch. So let's take a little look at the UI. So we have a section here for some controls related to the oscillators, basically the things in the synth that make the sounds. Then here, we click here, we have some settings for what's called the amplitude envelope and the filter envelope. We'll talk about those in more detail in a minute, but basically they're ways that we can shape the volume of the sounds over time. For example, if I put attack up, now the volume is coming up gradually. That's what we call a slow attack, right? Now, VCF, I press this button up here, and we come into some controls for the filter. So that's basically something that can control how bright the sounds are. And then we also have a little arpeggio section. I'm just going to jump back to the envelope section and bring the attack down. So we got a little arpeggio section that can do that kind of thing. And we've got an effects section with stuff like a chorus and a reverb and crushing effects and things like that. And we've got an LFO section. We've also got a sequencer here. So the LFO, that's another kind of oscillator that's used to basically move knobs, let's say, automatically. You'll see what I mean when we demo it later. You've got some buttons, by the way, up at the top here that you can use to change which parts of the UI you see at the same time. So you can see there's also this pad thing here, where we have two pads that we can use for kind of live performance. Okay, we won't bother going into those things yet. If you click on this info button, you can jump over to the website there, and you can support the developer either if you want, and if you have the money, either by tapping on thanks, and that's going to open up an option. Maybe that only works in standalone. I know, there we go. Yeah. So you can make a donation in the app if you want, or you can go to the website and make a donation, which would have less fees for the developer. Okay, let's go back to the oscillator page. So, all right. So here, you see it says DCO, so that just means digital controlled oscillator. So when we talk about analog synths, hardware synths that did not use digital means to produce their sound, those we call voltage controlled oscillators, and VCOs often have a kind of pitch drift over time. So this is a digital oscillator, but you can make it have a pitch drift over time by playing around with the settings here. So this won't work unless you turn up the depth here. Okay, I don't know why it didn't work there for a second. Right, so see the depths up here, and now it's like really quickly changing pitch. So if you want it to just sound a bit more like a natural kind of drift that a synth might have, you're probably going to bring the depth and rate down. Or you can have a fast rate and just bring the depth very far down. You play around with it. If you want, you can dial in a little delay here. So the delay will just mean that the sound will be static for a while before the pitch starts to change, okay? So for now, I'm just going to turn that off by bringing that depth knob down. Here, we're controlling the basic pitch of notes. So for example, here I'm playing a C on my keyboard, but I can change how high that sounds. So that's lower, and that's more medium, and that's higher. I think let's leave it at this one for now. So here we can change what oscillator type it is. So in synths, we just use different waveforms, and different waveforms produce different kinds of basic sounds. So that first one's called a sine. It's a very smooth kind of sound. Then you have triangle, which is a bit more aggressive, and then that's a lot more aggressive, right? The saw there. So we can also change the tuning in semitones. So like on a piano, right, you've got 12 keys, one for each semitone. So if we put it up 12, that's an octave higher. So it's the same note, but just played up higher. Okay, here we have a second oscillator that we can bring in, and we've got a choice of different waveforms. And here we control the level, and here we can change the tuning of that one. So that can be nice to have that up, for example, and up an octave. And then here we could bring in a sub bass. So that's an octave down from the main oscillator. Or sometimes it's 2 octaves down. I haven't listened carefully to check in this one. And we can bring in noise if we want. And that could be very useful if you want to make drum sounds, for example, or maybe you just want to add a little bit of bite to things. Can sound nice. Okay, so I'm just going to go here and go back to that to just get back to the basic preset. And then click in here. So here we're controlling the overall volume. And here let's look at the envelope. So if we bring the attack up higher, now the sound fades in. And we can further shape it, so you can see this up here. So this first thing that shows you the attack, then we see the decay. So the decay will set how long it takes to fall to a certain level. That level is set by the sustain. And release will determine whether when you let go of the key on your keyboard, does the note stay on? Like I've already taken my key away, but we can still hear it, right? So we can use the envelope to shape how the sound changes over time. And you can just double tap any of these sliders, and it will go back to the default settings. So there you see with the release up, we're getting a fade out over time. So if we have a slower attack and a slower release, then we're getting what we call pad sounds, right? Now, by the way, I have this app loaded inside this host app called AUM. So even if you're new to making music on a device like a computer or an iPad or whatever, you might have heard of apps like Ableton and stuff on desktop. So also on iPad and iPhone, you have apps that you can use as a host app to load multiple copies of this. For example, you could have one for bass, you could have one doing synth sound, you could have another one for percussion or whatever. And you can also bring in other apps that you could use to process those sounds, effect apps and so on. Or you could bring in MIDI apps that would send information to this that would play it automatically for you, so you don't have to play with a keyboard, right? So this host app I'm using here is called AUM, and I've got a video on it on my channel, almost everything you need to know about AUM. But just to mention, this app does work standalone as well, so you don't need any other kind of app to use it. You don't have to spend any money whatsoever. All you need is an iPad or an iPhone. And the app also has a record button in it, by the way, as well. So you can just record everything from right within the app itself. So very handy for people who are getting started, especially. Okay. So we also have control of the filter envelope. So let's just look at the filter section first. So the filter is just a thing that we use to shape the brightness of the sound. So you see, if I have that cut off all the way up to the top, if I bring that down, now the sound is getting darker, right? So you can just set this to something that you like and leave it like that, or you can modulate it. So modulate just means changing it over time, basically. So if we go back to the envelope page, for example, if I increase the attack here, just pop back here for a second. So I've got to bring this up first, yeah? So here we've got a slider which can set how much the section for the filter envelope will shape this sound. Basically, let's go back over here. So do you see here the difference? If I bring this attack all the way down, when I press a note here, the sound is just immediately bright, right? But if I bring the attack time up, by bringing this slider up, you can hear it gets brighter over time, right? So we can use these sliders to shape how the brightness of the sound evolves over time. Again, you can just double tap everything to send it back to default. If you do want to use this, make sure that you don't have this already fully open over here, because otherwise it won't do anything. So bring this down a bit. You could bring it fully down, or you could just bring it part of the way down, or whatever. Right now, I'm just going to double tap it to set it back to its default. So here we've got a thing called filter resonance. So that will just... Oh, hang on. There we go. I'll just bring that envelope slider down. So here, you can hear now we've got a kind of different quality of that sound. That's just increasing the volumes, the volume of the frequencies around this cutoff point. You can see here, when you adjust that knob, you can see that frequency in hertz. So if you bring this resonance up and pull the filter down, you get these nice classic resonant filter sweep sounds. Lovely. So if we jump back to the envelope page, if you click this, now the filter envelope is just linked to the amplitude envelope. So amplitude just means volume. So now changes I make to the amp envelope will automatically apply to the filter envelope. By the way, for the filter envelope, we can also set it so that where you play on the keyboard will open the filter up more. So that higher notes will be brighter. Or that how hard you hit the notes will make the filter open more. You can do that kind of thing as well. Okay, so here the ARP. So I'm just playing one note here. But if you hear what it's doing, it's playing two notes. And so the pitch of the second note will be set by this interval slider. So if you see here, you can see what the interval is. So if I bring this down to an interval of 0, it's playing the same note. It's not changing the pitch. If I bring this up to 1, now it's going to go right? Okay. So things like 3, they'll give you a nice minor sound. 4, I give you a nice major sound. Put in a 5 or a 7, those work with lots of things. Put in a 12 to go an octave up. You can't go down with this one actually, no. I was going to say you can go down as well, no. And here you can control the gate, and that just means how long the notes are. And the speed. Unfortunately, we only have synced speeds available here, it seems. There's no free rate option that I can see. I always like it when there's a free rate option, so I hope the developer Matthew could add that maybe. So you don't have to play just one note, you can play as many notes as you like and change the notes that you're holding down. And you can also play around with the speed slider while you're holding the notes down. And it's nice to play with the gate slider as well. And we can increase the range, so make it go higher. And we have a few different styles. Up, down, up and down. You hear how that's going up and then down and up and down. We got a few different variations, a couple of different random style ones, just randomized in slightly different ways. Okay. So, I'm not concentrating on trying to make cool sounds, by the way, in this. You want to hear cool sounds, you just download the app and go through the factory presets, right? I'm just trying to explain in a very, very clear way the basics of synthesis. If it's useful for you, everybody, please do smash the like and share this with your friends and so on. So I think we've looked at everything there in that VCF section. Well, there's also a high pass filter there. Again, double tap to reset. And then we come into the effects. So we can have this kind of detune effect. So we've basically got the same note, but multiple copies of it, let's say, and just detuned slightly. So that can get you these very fat sounds. And we can spread those voices out in the stereo field to make them sound wider. That sounds really good. Now, the chorus on this sounds great. And you have a couple of different options. So just choose whatever you think sounds better. Got a reverb here as well. And you can shape the brightness of the sound with this knob. You've got other effects as well, like crush. Let me turn that on. Turn the reverb off. You hear that widening, especially if you're wearing headphones, you'll hear that. Auto pan. So we can make the sounds move around in the stereo field. That can be nice to just put in a little bit. Not too much, just enough to make things a little bit more interesting. So we also have a mono mode. So here, if this is, I'm alternating between two notes. I'll show you using the keyboard here what I'm doing. So this is what we call monophonic. So we're not getting any kind of chord. This is polyphonic, right? We've got a chord. So mono thing can be very useful if you want to play bass lines and stuff. and we can bring in this glide effect. And we can turn on legato, which will just give us a smoother sound because the envelope will not be re-triggered when I play a new note. Okay, then we got a delay. I mean, it's a beautiful sounding app, isn't it? And we can use synced times for that, and you can see the times up here. So that's an 8th note. We can make it very fast if we want. And control the feedback amount. And stuff like that. And then we have this LFO section, so let's just put it back to the basic init patch. So here we're just controlling the pitch, or sorry, the amplitude, so we can get a tremolo effect. It just means the sound's getting louder and softer, and we can control the speed of that and the depth of that. Here you've got compression if you want, that can make loud things quieter and quiet things louder. And you got this retro tuning. I haven't really tested that, but I'd expect that will just bring a little bit of subtle detuning when you play notes. So here, these, I'm going to bring that depth back down again. Okay, so here we've got a second LFO if we want, and we've got a bunch of different shapes. And here we control the speed and the depth of that. Depth just means how strong the effect will be, basically. And we can also control things like, will the LFO just do its changes on things just once, or will it keep looping? And you'll hear that in a minute. So if I tap, if I tap here, you can see I can assign 2 destinations. So this LFO is what we'd call a modulation source. It just means it's the thing which is going to modulate something else. And then we choose a destination, and that just means this is the thing that's going to be modulated. So let's see what we'll pick. Something maybe kind of obvious, perhaps. Let's just go back here. Let me see. I want to pick something just very obvious. Let's pick Oscillator 1 volume, okay? Just make it super obvious. I find this a bit fiddly. I got to press close here. So, oh yeah, I got to turn it on here. Right? So you hear now how that's affecting the volume. And so if I choose different shapes here, it's just going to change that in different ways. You hear this one? It's basically, it's like, this one is like if you take a knob and let's say it's down at the bottom and you suddenly flick it so it goes up to the highest level immediately, and then you slowly bring it back down. That's just exactly what that LFO is doing. This one's doing the opposite. This one is like, it's similar to bringing a knob up gradually and then quickly pulling it down, right? This one here is like you bring it up and then you bring it down again in a kind of steady way like that, right? This one here would be like you flick it so it's at this level for a while and you leave it there for a while, and then you bring it back down again and leave it for the same amount of time. That's what that does. And this one here is just jumping about randomly. Right, you can hear that difference between those, okay? So that's LFO. So LFO is a very important thing to make your patches or your presets more interesting. And so here, tap, if this is off, it's looping. So you can hear it's doing the same thing again and again. If we tap this instead, this is just a one shot. It just means it will do its thing once and then it will stop. Okay, so we can set 2 destinations there if we want. So yeah, I sometimes get caught out by having to turn this on. And then we got another LFO, and I think you'll understand this. And you've got an option for time here as well, for the delay, right? And we looked at that delay thing earlier. And you also have some different options over here for waveforms, and whether it's looping or a one shot, or whether it's being re-triggered, so it'll start in the same place every time you play a key and so on. I don't want to make this video too long, so I think hopefully you'll understand this well enough after having explained the other ones. And then, and do remember, guys, I'm really trying to make this video, for beginners, so I hope it doesn't sound patronizing. Most people who follow this channel already know this stuff, but it's super important to make a video. I think that a lot of the young kids and stuff who buy this really want to understand anything, so really hope this is useful for them. So okay, with this pad, yeah, so if you look at the pad here, you can see here, this one is set up so that on this axis, on the y-axis, when I move up here, I'm increasing the resonance of the filter. And when I drag on the x-axis, I'm changing the filter cutoff frequency. So you can change what each of these pads controls by tapping here, and you have various different things that you can set there. Okay, now let's just go back to the basic patch. So here we have a little sequencer. Right? So this is similar to the arpeggiator in a way, except you can dial in the interval for each step here. So if you see here, the first step, I'm just playing one note, and it's just repeating this pattern. So first, it's just playing the note that I play. This one, when it hits this, it's going to play it up 10 semitones. Here it's going to play the note I played. Here it's going to put it up 12 semitones, i.e. an octave, and so on. So we can set the number of steps here, and we can set the rate and the gate. You can also lock the sequence so that it will not change when you change presets. That can be a pretty cool thing to play around with. So let's bring the rate up. So this also, I don't see any free rate option, and I would like that. It just seems to be quantized to beats like dotted 32nd, 16th, and so on. If there's a free rate, anybody watching this knows, tell me where to find it, please. So again, we can bring the gate down so all the sounds are shorter, or increase it so they're longer. And so it's really nice to just maybe press a note and just leave it, and then just play with these sliders. Let's do that. Right, you get the idea there. So I think I've gone through nearly everything. There's a little thing you can tap, where is it, here? Which will allow you to assign, if your keyboard has a mod wheel and a pitch wheel, and in the standalone version of this there is a keyboard, but I can't see how to open a keyboard here in the AUV3 version, in the plugin version that I've got opened here. But you can just set it up like how much pitch bend you will get when you use the pitch bend wheel on your keyboard, or what things the mod wheel, another little thing that you have on most keyboards, what the mod wheel will control, the rate of the LFO or these other things. So I think I've covered everything there, and great app. And I mean, it's really like a beautiful sounding app. Go and check out some demos of it. I think there's probably a lot of demos around with people demonstrating the presets and stuff. I don't feel like I need to demo this for you because it's totally free. You can download it yourself and explore all those cool presets on your own. Why bother watching someone else doing it in a video? But it sounds great. So people who like synths and understand synths will enjoy this. And it's great for total beginners too, to just get a really nice free app that'll work on their iPhone or iPad that's pretty easy to understand and that sounds really good. Okay, everyone, hope you enjoyed this. Smash the subscribe button if you're into making music on iOS, if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.